Hey everyone, today I have a special guest. And before I introduce her, I want to say that it doesn't matter what it is that you do in this life. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to benefit from this podcast today, because the things that we're going to be talking about in relation to her evolution and her business and her success, it applies to all of us at all levels of life. And we're going to touch on one of my favorite topics, identity. Today I've got with me Cassie Howard. She's an online business mentor for women. She is best known for her savvy sales skills and her ability to make business simple, fun, and sustainable. I'm actually a fan of hers. I have invested in several of her programs because her approach to business and money is one that really is attractive. And she has attracted the attention of women all around the world in their own attempt to build a mind-blowing business of their dreams. What she teaches in her programs, her master classes, and individual trainings is something that she embodies in her own company every day. And that company has generated over 8 figures cash in just a few short years. And I've witnessed this evolution. She does break the rules. She enjoys it. And she will do what others tell her that she can't. It's a unique way of doing business that has changed the game in the coaching and mentoring space. And many of her clients have passed milestones and created shocking success at rapid speed. Cassie is a huge proponent of success on your terms, and she believes that you really can be, do, and have anything that you want, and you can experience it in your very own way. She teaches work ethic, staying power, big, bold moves, and long game focus alongside with her many teachings on money, sales, and social media. She is truly someone that wants every woman to win and is passionate in supporting her clients on their journey to limitless success. Welcome with me, Cassie Howard. Hey everybody, it's Penny and welcome Cassie. I am so excited to have you here today. I want to start in a bit of a surprising place because I used to be this mom, but not from the side that you did it. And that is one of your first forays into business. What inspired you to become a coupon mom?
I was really struggling financially, and I discovered this woman who was not in Canada, but I was still inspired by her getting all of her groceries really, really inexpensively or free. And I started to research, how can I do this in Canada? And realized it's not so easy, but it's possible. So I started to play with it, and I realized it was actually played all the time until it's then something I was just known for, because I was posting all my shopping hauls and things like that on my blog. And people were asking, how did you do that? How did you know that, that store had that product at that price? And it just kind of became its own entity after that.
So you had a blog before you started couponing.
Yes, and it was honestly just like a diary. Like, I just wrote about my day. There was probably like 3 people that were reading it. Like, that was it. Like my mom and my sister. Like, it was just a small thing. And then I started to just couponing. I was doing it, so I was just sharing what I was doing. And then all of a sudden, these strangers were commenting. I was like, where did these people come from? And then it just became more and more and more. And then people were asking me to teach it, and it just blew up from there.
So I think it's really interesting that, I mean, at the time that was something you enjoyed doing,
Yes. Oh
and
yeah.
it became an unexpected opportunity
Yeah.
for you. What did it look like growing that business? I'm privy. I'm in your inside world, got my foot in the door. So I've heard a lot of this sharing. How did that evolve as a business?
Yeah, so it, like I said, it was a blog. And with the blog, I was writing on there so much, I was sharing so much. I was like, I have to get paid for this, because I have no job, and I'm gonna need to go get one if I don't make any money. So why don't I just put some paid ads on the blog? It's like, just what's it called? Google ads. Just copy some code, put it on the blog, easy. I don't have to do anything. And it started to make money. It was a couple of dollars a day, nothing crazy, but it started to bring in money. And then I discovered through just researching other couponing blogs around US and Canada and found affiliate programs like the Amazon affiliate program. Easy. I'll share really good deals from Amazon and use my affiliate link. And then I started to build affiliate income in addition to my Google ad income that was coming in. And then there were other advertisers that I would do sometimes have like independent advertisers that would pay a monthly fee or something for a couple of months, and I'd have their ad on my little sidebar of my blog. And it just grew like that over time. It definitely was not a big business by any means, especially not for the first few years, but it did build over time, and I was just loving it. So it was easy for me to stay consistent with it.
Yeah, I remember at one point you shared that your team, like the actual action taking piece of it, got so big that even though your
Yeah.
revenue grew, your income didn't.
My income shrunk because I had to pay my team because we were posting every single Canadian deal, coupon, freebie that you could possibly find. And this was sometimes we'd have 15, 20 posts in a single day. And I couldn't do it on my own unless I just learned how to never sleep. And so I needed to pay people to help me to do it during the hours that I couldn't. And so I had to pay this team. And so we ended up getting to a point where it made around 10,000 a month. And I personally was taking home 1,000. So I was getting paid like 12,000 a year for working 12 plus hour days every day.
Yeah, what that screams to me is something that I see that overlaps in a lot of areas of people's lives, not just business, but I've been there in business myself, and that is attempting to cover all the bases for everyone.
Yeah, especially as a parent, I think that played a pretty big role for me later on as well, knowing that this business was essentially this blog slash business was essentially my baby, and so I had to make sure it was taken care of, and so I would do everything for this blog and pretty much never do anything for me.
Right. And but also to cover all those bases with all the coupons for all the
Yeah,
stores to make
yeah.
sure that everyone had what they need. What was the moment where you decided this isn't working? It's, I mean, the moment where it's like it's time to shift into something else.
So this was maybe around like 6.5-ish years that I had done this. So it was a really long time.
Wow.
But then I transitioned to eating a vegan diet. And so I already started to feel really uncomfortable sharing deals and coupons for things like dairy and meat products and stuff that I didn't believe in anymore. So that was hard, but I kept doing it. It's fine. Just try to overlook it. Um, but then I wanted to start talking more about how to earn money as opposed to just how to save money, which is pretty much all we talked about was saving money and frugal living and all of that. But I was making decent money. I mean, the blog was making decent money from this website. So I wanted to talk about how I was doing that to give other people opportunities to make more money. I wanted to show them these different options that they could take advantage of. And the more I posted about how to make money, the more curious people were, and the more they asked me for more content like that. And eventually, somebody asked me or told me that I should be a business coach, and I had no idea what that was. What I'd never heard of a business coach, and so I researched the coaching industry. I was like, "What is a business coach?" Asked Google, and discovered this crazy, wild world that I'm now in. And I just knew right away this is where I want to be, but I didn't let myself go there yet because I was like, I have this business, I can't let it go, or my measly 1,000 a month is going to go to $0 a month, which is not good. But I don't know what the exact thing was that set me off, but there was a day after I had decided I want to try this whole coupon or coaching thing where something triggered me. And I just remember taking my coupon binders, which took me hours a day to organize, and I was feeling frustrated with how far behind I'd gotten on collecting these coupons and not filing them and organizing them. And I just said, fuck this shit. and I threw the binders in. I opened my garage door and I threw them in the trash. I said, "Fuck this shit," and that was it. I never did it again after that. I don't know what triggered me. I wish I remembered, but I don't. But that was what I did.
You know what? It was that moment of deciding,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is a really big deal. I talk about that a lot from a subconscious perspective. There's a difference
yeah.
between wanting, trying, and deciding.
Yes, agree. Yeah, and I felt that I wanted to do it, and this was me deciding I'm doing it.
So what year was that, do you think?
That was 20 either end of 2014 or beginning of 2015, because
Okay.
I ended up saying, like, officially going into the coaching industry in February of 2015.
Wow. And you've come a long way since then. I remember in March of 22, you sharing a post about walking into a bank and
Yeah,
making a huge investment, I
yeah,
believe for years of coaching at that point. So I would
yeah.
love for you to share just a little bit about where you are right now and what you believe it took you to get here as a person.
Ooh. So my life is so different now, and I first want to say I still love coupons. I still love a good deal, and I will still do that, just not to the extreme that I did years ago. But now I'm all about making money. I'm all about helping people make money. If I can help you save money, sure, but we that's like 10% of what we talk about. It's mostly how to increase what you're bringing in. And my business took like my coaching business, the first 3 years did really, really well. I did over $1 million in the first 3 years. And when I say it did really well, I mean financially. Otherwise, it did not do very well because I was still working the same amount that I was with the couponing, which was 12+ hour days trying to make this work. And while I don't regret it, I definitely don't recommend it because it was really incredibly unhealthy for me. And a lot of my relationships suffered, my own health suffered, everything was not good. But the business did financially really well for the first few years. So I was really happy about that. And then I learned that I still kind of sucked with money. And even though I was good at making it, I was not good at using it properly, meaning putting it away for some of it away for taxes that you still need to pay, and putting some into savings and investing in things that could earn me more money. I would just make money, spend money. That was the cycle. And so eventually all of that million was gone. I had somehow just blown through all of it. And then I kind of got into this somewhat of a depression of feeling like I had just failed. I had invested all this time, all this energy, and it was just kind of not all gone, but it felt like it was all gone. And I had to go through that, as awful as it was, to realize that I was the one who was in control of my life. And I could sit here and sulk and feel sorry for myself, or I could figure out what went wrong, fix it, and do better next time. And so that's what I committed to. And it did take me a couple of years before I finally got back on my feet again, but I was a lot smarter when I got back on my feet. And then I was able to make money a whole lot quicker. I started to do millions in 1 year instead of millions over a couple of years. I started to increase my investment portfolio. I started to support more and more clients who were doing multiple 5-figure months, multiple 6-figure months, 7-figure months, and just everything just changed for the better. But it took a lot of ups and downs to get to this point.
I mean, to look at your presence online, it, people see what it is that they desire,
Yeah,
what they want to embody, and we can lose sight of the fact that somewhere along there had to be lessons
for
that were
sure.
learned to be able to get to the place to have the responsibility, if you will, to maintain and sustain that in a healthy way. And I just love that you shared that. I hate that you went through it, but I understand. I
Yeah.
understand that place. What would you what would you say to someone who is finding themselves in that place where they're believing they failed, but really what they're being handed is a huge lesson.
Mm. It's hard to communicate that to someone who's going through it, because when you're in it, it feels like it's the worst thing ever and that's going to be your life forevermore. But it's really that belief in yourself and that trust in yourself that you can handle anything. So what really helped me was reminding myself of all the other times I was going through difficult things and how that's no longer an issue in my life. All the things that I've healed from, all the things that, were really crappy and now I'm doing really well in them. Like looking at all these areas and just kind of reminding yourself of, oh, I can actually get through this. It sucks that I'm in it and I don't want to be in it, but it is what it is. And what am I going to do about it? That's the thing, is I can sit here and sulk, or I can get up and figure out how to move forward.
And I think it's so important for people to have someone in their lives to some degree that can actually say, I've been through this. I know what it is to tackle the mental demon, the
Yeah.
feelings, and get to the other side of it rather than just platitudes. You talked about the 12-hour days. You were still trading time for money.
Mm-hmm.
What did you change to allow yourself to go to millions quickly without ending back in a place of, I'm going to guess you probably had a bit of burnout too.
Oh, so much burn. I ended up in the hospital. The burnout was so bad at one point. The main thing that I really had to change, obviously I had a whole bunch of like strategic stuff that I had to learn and work through and figure out for myself. But more than that, I think it was the mindset. I needed to stop putting so much pressure on myself to hurry up and get to where I wanted to go faster. And the crazy thing is, the less I tried to hurry up and get there, the faster I actually got there, because the pressure was gone. It was really the pressure that was holding me back. I, realize now in hindsight. Um, but also simplifying my entire business model made a huge difference. With the couponing business model, it was not simple at all. It was very complex and there was lots of moving pieces. And I didn't, I started with that in the coaching business as well, just because that's what I knew. And I realized this is not sustainable. If I keep going like this, it's gonna be the same thing. I'm just gonna burn out and end up saying, fuck this shit again and moving on to the next thing. So I need to simplify this in a way where I'm able to do it long term and actually enjoy myself and not kill myself in the process.
Right. Could you elaborate on the do less? What
Mhm.
did that look like for you?
So when I started to focus on simplicity, I did a time diary. I said, I'm going to track every single thing that I do in a day for a whole week, which was insane because I realized I do way too much. It took me so much time just to write down what I was doing. But I saw so many areas where I was just doing busy work. I would be scrolling on social media to find inspiration for my next post. I would do that for hours and then still not post anything. I would be doing things like writing an email like 15 times to try to make it sound perfect and realize that took hours. So I'm spending 5, 6, 7, 8 hours just creating content or just researching content and not making money. So I had to really get clear on what was going to take me where I wanted to go in my business. I needed to prioritize content. I needed to prioritize my sales strategy and the offers that I had, my offer suite. But then also I needed to prioritize the visibility that I was getting as well as my offers were getting, so that they could sell and make money. And so then I was just focused on those three areas. And so every day I had a to-do list that said post content, sell an offer, talk to somebody. That was it. And this is when my to-do list used to have 20, 30 things on them every single day. Now they had 3. And I did that for about a month or so and realized that not only did I feel better, I had more energy, I had way more time in my day, but also my audience was growing and my sales were increasing. And that's when I knew I was onto something. And so I just refined that over and over and over.
You know, I was doing a business mentorship last year for people who had completed my hypnosis certification. And I would tell them when you're scrolling looking for inspiration, you're going to get imposter syndrome. You're going to
Yep.
start comparing yourself. You're going to see people who are selling the same thing, and you're going to start to say, well, why me? Their graphics look prettier, they look better. I've loved watching your evolution of your branding as well. You do that often. Every time you have an up level, you're going for a new photo shoot. And not
Yeah.
everyone has to do that. But do you find that with a lot of people that you mentor when they're starting out, those things trip them up and hold them back?
100%. Yes, that's almost always the first question they ask me is, what should my brand be called? Which really doesn't even matter. It can just be your own name, but figure out the brand name later. But then what colors should I use and how many photo shoots should I do and what kind of pictures should I take? And it's not that those things are unimportant. It's just that they're unimportant in the beginning. In the beginning, what matters more than anything else is your content, what you're selling, and visibility so that people can find you and find your offers. That's it. And then once you've mastered those and you have the visibility, you have somewhat of an audience, you're making okay money, then start thinking about branding.
Now, when you went to millions in that first year or two, you pretty much already had the structure. You knew what you could do, you knew what you could
Yeah.
offer. Was everything one to many when you restarted, or were you still doing some one to one?
It was, yeah, there was still one-on-one. It was mostly one to many, just time-wise. I just didn't have the capacity to work with a lot of people one-on-one, but I really love one-on-one, so there's no way I was gonna get rid of it. I was just a lot more picky about who I let come into that space.
I totally, totally understand that energy can be so important. Where do you stand with the energetics of money?
What do you mean?
Well, 10K in 10 days, for
Mm,
example, being in that vortex, the energy of people who
yeah.
are excited and in that receiving mode.
Ooh. So it's something, so first of all, it's not something that I was ever familiar with. I always thought the whole energetics conversation was a little weird until I learned, oh, it actually does work and it makes sense when you think about it and you apply it. But at the beginning, I didn't understand it, and so it was I was all strategy, 100%. That's it. And then I started to work with an energy healer who taught me about feelings. And it sounds like the most basic thing in the world, but it really was an eye opener for me. She's like, just let yourself be sad today. Your homework for today is to go be sad, watch sad movies, listen to sad songs, and just cry all day. I was like, this sounds horrible. Why would I do that? But I don't know what it was. It triggered something in me. I was like, the next day I felt so good. I was like, I needed to like let all of that emotion out. And so I learned about feelings. And then we talked a little bit about money and how I feel about money. And I realized when I thought about money, I felt like fire, like there was this fire energy, like it's bad or it's going to burn or like there's something bad about money. And so we went through, I did a whole bunch of processes and things with her, but then I I decided I need to be around wealthy people because I'm afraid of wealthy people. I'm afraid of becoming one of them because at this point I thought rich people were evil and bad and selfish and all these terrible things. So it's like I need to be around them to see what this is actually all about and see if I'm actually right. And so I went into a mastermind with my now mentor, and there was lots of wealthy people in there. And I realized, holy crap, these are some of the nicest people I've ever met. And the more we talk about money, the better I feel about money. Even if I'm talking about debt, even if I'm talking about things that aren't necessarily good with money, I feel good just talking about money. And I learned about celebration, which is all what 10K in 10 days is really all about, is celebrating every single dollar that comes in, celebrating every dollar that goes out, and the gratitude that you have that to pay your bills and buy food and join programs and buy Christmas gifts and all of these different things. That celebration and that gratitude for money, just I really think that was the biggest catalyst for me in getting to where I am now financially, and I mean in the practical sense, but also how I feel about it.
I want to connect that back to you mentioned much earlier how at one point the money was coming in, the money was paying bills, you weren't investing it, you weren't using that money to multiply itself.
Mhm.
And I'm betting that was a huge difference being in that room.
So different because that those types of things, investing, and not just investing in things like, your education, learning, mentorship, but investing in like real estate, investing in stocks, like that kind of industry. I had never even thought about it, which is bizarre considering I'm married to somebody who's been in this for like 20 years. I would be like, I don't want to talk about this. And then I was like, this is fun. What else can we do? Then I started to schedule calls with my accounting team, who I would always avoid calls from because they're just going to tell me I have a big tax bill. No thanks. Now I get excited to talk to them. So they're like, okay, I have this new tax strategy. Okay, I have this new thing that'll help you to save thousands of dollars. Now I have fun having these conversations, but it wasn't always that way until I put myself in those rooms.
Yeah, flipping that story, especially around taxes, like I'm grateful that I'm successful enough I get to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Because if I'm getting money back, there's something else that's going on there
Yeah.
in that space. And there was a time where I had no idea that entrepreneurship was something available to me.
Yeah.
I stumbled into it and have not had a role model in my life. And being in a mastermind was key
Yeah.
to that evolution because you have to learn to think differently if you want to see this through
Yeah.
to the ultimate goal that you have. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Yeah. And masterminds were something that always kind of confused me. I was like, why would I pay to just be in a room with other people? Like, why not just pay to do, one on one with the mentor if that's what I really want? But it's a whole different energy. It's you're surrounded by a group of people, whether it's small or large, that are having way different conversations than you're going to find anywhere else. It's life changing.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little plug here. I'm in your membership Millionaire Musings. And November was, I believe it was November was Mastermind month,
Yes.
masterminding. And I was listening to your audios going through and I'm like, yeah, I'm the person who sits back and absorbs. And when I have something really big to just jump in with, I do. I'm totally that person. But to hear the conversations and going back to energy, it's motivating that yes, I can do this. I can achieve this also. What um, what is the identity that you think? Because I know this is something you talk about. You recently did a master class on it, and I love talking about identity. We'll never outperform our identity. What's the identity of I'm going to call you iconic, sales coach and money coach that you embody?
It took me a long time to get here, but I realized that it's going to sound counterintuitive, but for me, it's actually not about the money. It's actually not about the sales. Like, that's not what I want to be known for, even though it is kind of sort of what I'm known for, but it's what comes from that. So for me, it's more about wealth as a whole. And I don't just mean financial wealth, I mean being wealthy in all areas. And money just so happens for us in business to come from sales. And so that's kind of, the way it comes in. But it's all for me about the identity of a wealthy woman and making sure that I am showing up as that person. And so a wealthy woman is going to prioritize making money so that she has financial, wealth. And a wealthy woman is going to put herself in a room with other wealthy women so that she can have wealthy conversations to increase her wealth. So it's being the wealthy woman is more, the energy for me than anything else.
And I think of also wealth in terms of that health,
100%.
self-care.
Yes.
How we nourish ourselves is so important in all of that. What does your typical day look like? Do you mind sharing?
Every day is different, but I will say this shocks a lot of people. A lot of my time is spent reading and watching Netflix. That is a lot of my day because that brings me so much joy. But I'm also learning as I'm doing that. When people hear that I watch a lot of Netflix, they're like, oh, that's not good for you. Like, I have had some of my best ideas come from random TV shows and documentaries and things like that. So that's a big part of my day. But I also have two kids at home. And so we have, family stuff that we're doing typically in the evenings. And in the morning for me is really my me time. I like to be up ideally before the sun gets up. And I am always just immersed in some kind of business task. I love to be in the business right away. So I'm either in with my clients in Voxer, or I'm writing a post, or I'm sending an email, or I'm working on graphics, like not me working on the graphics, but approving graphics and things for different programs and things coming up. I'm always doing that in the morning. And then selling is just going to be consistent throughout the day. But that's my day. It's like the first 2 hours or so is my me time. So I could exercise, make food, go for a walk, do something with the animals, with the kids, or I will be learning, reading, watching TV, documentary, something like that throughout the day.
I remember you said somewhere that you spend about 4 hours a day in
On
the
my business.
business, but
Yeah.
but that's because you focus on the things that move the needle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for me, it's on average 2 to 4 hours a day. Sometimes it's more. Typically, towards the end of the year, it's more because I'm also doing things for next year to kind of prepare myself. But on average, 2 to 4 hours a day, and it's content, sales, and visibility. Those are my three main things. And then in addition to that, now I also, of course, have my clients. I have calls that I have to do sometimes, or I'm working on some kind of project behind the scenes. But the main things that I focused on to get to this point and what I'm still prioritizing to this day is content, sales, and visibility. And those things only take a couple hours a day.
I I know, and you crossed eight figures this year. Is that right?
Last year, yeah,
Last year,
yeah,
and at 2 to 4 hours a day, and you
yeah,
absolutely love what it is that you do, and this puts you in a very small percentage of women.
yeah.
What
And I
what
want to change that. I don't want to change the percentage. I hate that it's so small.
absolutely. I think that generationally, the last 3 decades, maybe four, there have been huge shifts
Yeah.
in women breaking into corporate entrepreneurship, things that are available to us. So I really see that shifting, and I'm happy to be a part of your world to watch that evolve because I have these same goals for myself. Once you've crossed that eight-figure threshold, what is the next milestone?
I don't know that I have a next milestone. I think that's why it was I'm not easy for me to get to eight figures, but the reason that it really happened, because for me, that pressure of what's the next goal, what's the next number that I want to hit, stopped me from hitting those numbers. So instead, I just kind of play in the realm of what if and why not is the way I like to do it. So, and I like to go ridiculous numbers like that. That's just what feels good to me. And so if eight figures was the ridiculous number that, okay, I did it. Now, obviously the ridiculous number is nine figures. So that's what we're going to go for. But I don't truthfully don't care if I get there. Will I celebrate if I do? Yes. Will I be grateful if I do? Yes. But I'm not going to try to figure out how. I'm just going to enjoy the journey.
I love that because chasing goals, it it puts this feeling, this emotion that we're never getting there when we're
Yeah.
just always increasing it. And I apprenticed with a shaman, and I had a mentor before I started apprenticing with him, and it was let go of the how, be of service, be in your heart and love being of service, and everything else will fall into place. Just show up and be. And I feel like you do that.
Yeah, and I do have a bit of strategy because that's just in my blood. It's just what I do. But for the most part, yeah, like I'm just showing up and I'm just having a good time. And I wasn't in the beginning. And I think that was a big part of my problem and why I wasn't able to enjoy myself as I was building is because I wouldn't let myself have fun. I didn't think that building a business could be fun. But I thought it was you go to work, you make money, and then you go have fun. So why not just rewrite the rules altogether? So that's what I did.
Absolutely. And I just want to reinforce what you said, the have fun, but with strategy, because flying by the
Yeah.
seat of your pants just doesn't,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
work that
Doesn't
well.
work. But also strategy on its own doesn't work that well either. You got to have both.
You got to have both. Absolutely. I loved this conversation. Is there something that I didn't touch on that you would love for people to know or to really take away from the conversation? Because we've been a little bit all over the place.
I love that though. One thing actually that is it's really important for me to share this message. This is what I really love to speak on is being really unapologetic about who you are and really just owning who you are, owning what you believe, what you stand for, what you stand against, your story, your journey that got you to where you are, your ambitions for yourself, all of that, like really just honoring that by being unapologetic and not ever shying away from being who you are for fear that somebody else won't like you.
I I love that. I've been through the mode where I was attempting to come across as what I thought my ideal client would want me to be. And you
Yeah.
end up in this place of not being able to find the right words. You get confused on your message, you get confused on your offer. And, it really applies to all of life to be who you want to be.
Yeah. It makes life so much more fun too, because then you're only connecting with people who genuinely love you for you. Like I can think of nothing worse than spending time with somebody who loves me because they think that I'm somebody else, but I'm really not. That sounds awful. I'd rather be who I really am, have some people who don't like that, and that's fine, and have the people who love me for who I really truly am at my core.
And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy being in your world, seeing your post, and you're just upfront, you're straightforward, and you really tell it like it is in a loving, but this is what you have to do kind of energy. If this is what you want, this is how you show up, this is what you have to do and not be afraid of it. So thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We will have links to all of Cassie's social in the show notes and also a link to her Millionaire Musings membership, which I enjoy being a part of. Thank you so much, Cassie, for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.